When your favorite football team is on the bye week, those 2 weeks feel like forever. And that's why one of my initial reactions after the Bills lost to Arizona via Hail Mary, after I got through the disbelief that that happened, was, oh my God, I have to sit on this image of DeAndre Hopkins ripping it down through the Bills' three best pass defenders in my head. That is what I am going to be thinking about for the next 2 weeks through Thanksgiving, through Black Friday. I can't watch them until after those holidays are done. Like, oh my God, this is the only thing that's going to be on my mind across these next 2 weeks. Having said that, I do think that there was some benefit to the bye. I think it allowed me to think a little bit more rationally maybe about the Bills. And I was kind of footballed out after the Hail Mary. Weren't you just kind of done? Were you just like, no, the Sunday night game, that's not happening. And of course it's New England, and of course they win. Because of course. But I certainly wasn't watching Football Night in America. I did tune in to the Sunday night game a little bit. But I wasn't watching it as intently as I usually do. But like I said, no Football Night in America, no NFL Primetime or NFL Live the next day on ESPN, none of the recap shows on NFL Network, none. I needed Sunday and Monday off from football, so to speak. I needed that break. And you know why I think that might have been as well? Just another additional reason beyond the Hail Mary, the emotional roller coaster that was that game against Arizona, is it felt so eerily similar to the playoff game against Houston. And that is still PTSD in my head a little bit about how the Bills lost that game. And I'm kind of still wondering it about Arizona. But I feel a little bit stronger because it was a regular season game and the Bills are still in pretty good shape. Against Houston, that was it. I didn't get to watch them after that for 8 months. That was my lasting memory of Bills football through the winter, spring, and summer. So obviously that's where the differences lie. But DeAndre Hopkins isn't even on the team. He was on Houston. He's on Arizona. But and he takes over in the second half. But the Josh Allen receiving touchdown on the trick play to give the Bills the lead, the turnover early in the second half to give the Bills a 2-score lead, and then the team comes roaring back. And the Bills, this time they don't tie it and send it to overtime late. They actually take the lead late and then lose on some inexplicable physics play. The Watson should have been sacked, the 3rd and 18, those plays. And then Hopkins, I'm going to call BS on this next-gen stat. This is where I was going to go with this. The next-gen stat I saw said that had a completion probability of 16%. There is no way, if you run that play 100 times, that he catches it 16 of them. Maybe 5, 7 at most. There's just no way. And he is one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in the league. I would certainly listen to the argument. The best hands in the league, probably does have those. Proved it. Proved it a couple of Sundays ago. But there's no way he catches that play 16 times out of 100. Kyler Murray rolling, falling to his left, falling away, chucking it up, just dropping it in the bucket perfectly. Just a perfect adjustment. Poyer coming over, maybe knocking Trey out of the way, not being able to rip the ball, and whatever. I'm gonna make myself mad about it again, and I thought, like I said, I was in a pretty good place. What did make me mad leading up in the following week was Kyler Murray had played Thursday Night Football against Seattle, and they're talking about him in the MVP race. What do you mean? He's almost 6-5. What's their record right now? They are 6-4. So they're almost they're 6-4 because they just lost to Seattle, right? Yes. So they improved to 6-3 against the Bills. They were almost 5-4. They should have been 5-4. They could be 5-5 right now. And you want to talk about Kyler Murray as the MVP because of a miracle play? He was 11 seconds from losing. You put him in the MVP race because he has the best receiver maybe in the league who made a ridiculous play on his behalf basically. That doesn't put him in the MVP conversation. To say that that elevates him to the levels of Mahomes and Rodgers is just ludicrous. And I love Kyler Murray. I think he's a terrific athlete, and I love watching him play. Did not really love it so much a couple of Sundays ago, but he's not anywhere near the Mahomes Rodgers level, at least not yet. He might get there, but he's not there yet, and I don't think that play warranted him being in the conversation. But let's talk a little bit about the game. There's certainly things we can point to. You can talk about the offense going cold in the second half. Again, this second half or third quarter Bills at least, what is with that? I'm going to go over a couple of their drives in a second. You can talk about the defense giving up a couple of quick points, just getting steamrolled by Murray on a couple of drives. But ultimately, I thought they played pretty good. You can even talk about special teams with, well, Tyler Bass kicking 50-yard field goals like it's his job. It is his job, but like what a tremendous job he did. I'm getting sick of Andre Roberts returning kicks. Take it at the 25 every single time. I don't care if he takes it back for 60. You trust the offense? You trust Josh Allen, right? You think the offense is good. So why take it out? Why even risk hindering their field position? Just give them the ball to 25. They've shown they can drive the length of the field, and they're pretty good at it. Give them the ball to 25. Or in the punt. Sorry, I didn't mean to skip over that. The 12-yard punt by Bojorquez that led to 3 points for Arizona, which I thought was a tremendous job by the defense to just get those 3 points, to hold Arizona to those 3 points. They did a great job all day. Arizona had goal-to-goal situations, like the ball on the 5 and the 3-yard line, and the defense held them to field goals. It's, and I'm sitting there watching like, well, we're going to beat them because you don't beat us kicking field goals. We have graduated that point. You don't beat the Bills kicking field goals. They did end up beating the Bills with a miracle. Whatever. I'm good. I'm sorry to keep bringing it up. But it happened. It's not going to go away. It's not going to change it. But the Bills traded field goals with them in the first half. Outside of the Allen receiving touchdown, it's 16-9 at halftime. They get to turn over in the third quarter. Like I said, just like they did in the playoff game, to go up and they score there to go up 23-9. They're up 14. They were up 13 in the playoff game, and then Murray answers. Here's my gripe with the offense. I actually have the drive chart with me right here. Murray drives for the touchdown, 23-16. Bills get the ball back. 3 plays, 6 yards, punt. That's a 12-yard punt that leads to the field goal. So it's 23-19. Bills get the ball back. 3 plays, 14 yards, pick. Allen could have thrown 5 interceptions in this game. Peterson could have had 3 or 4 on his own probably. But he only ends up with 2. Doesn't mean they weren't, poorly timed. So within 6 minutes, because the Cardinals drive for a touchdown in 3 plays in 1 minute, it's 26-23 Cardinals. Within like 6 minutes, you're in the blink of an eye, your 14-point lead is gone and you're trailing. So you get the ball back again, 6 plays, 5 yards, punt. Arizona gifts you an interception. Larry Fitzgerald, one of the most sure-handed players of all time, gifts you an interception. And you get the ball back. What do? 4 plays, 8 yards, punt. Arizona goes 3 and out, 3 plays, 3 yards, they punt. You get the ball back. Interception on the first play. And then, thankfully, as I'm going to look for the play-by-play here, after Allen throws that interception with 4.5 minutes to go, after rushing for 200 yards with Edmonds and Drake and Kyler, Cliff Kingsbury, forward-thinking, goes, pass, pass, pass. Why? I love throwing the football. I love it. But just get the clock rolling a little bit. They took, the sack took some time off the clock. They took barely a minute off the clock when they had a chance to maybe run it out by running the football, which they were doing successfully throughout the day. And then Josh Allen, to his credit, who had probably had a bad game by standards, which also excites me, because 284 yards and 3 total touchdowns is like a bad game. And what did he add rushing? I mean, he had a couple of nice quarterback draws in the last couple of drives. Allen, definitely 284 passing, definitely 3 total touchdowns, and he added 38 yards rushing. He was their leading rusher. Running game wasn't that great, but, they didn't need it. But what was I going to say? Allen essentially has a bad game with 284 and 3 touchdowns. That's good. The standard has been raised for Bills quarterback play. Love that. Of course he goes down and scores a touchdown. He's shown this propensity to do that. to be able to do that late in games. I kind of trust him in those situations. Even if things have been bad before, that he can put his big boy pants on and get you down the field and get those points that you need. And then ultimately, it's, and the people want to point to the defense because of the Hail Mary or whatever. Like, use a tall guy. Use Tremaine Edmonds. He's 6'5". You don't need to use a receiver or whatever. Just let Tremaine Edmonds box him out. I don't need Tremaine Edmonds covering Larry Fitzgerald at the 30. Like, that's what I mean. There's, things you can point to. But Allen did a great job to get them the lead. The defense did a good job to let the Bills build the lead that they did. The offense let it get away. The defense let the lead get away at the end. It's just, a cumulative... just a perfect storm that sort of led to the loss. And here we are at 7-3. There's 6 teams actually in the AFC that are 7-3 or better, and 9 that are 6-4 or better. Fortunately, Miami lost to Denver over the Bills bye week. New England lost as well. So New England's 3 games back with 6 games to go. They're in the rear view to me. I just want to stay ahead of Miami. And Miami has a couple layups maybe coming up with the Jets and the Bengals, who just lost Joe Burrow. But, so maybe they get to 8-4, but what I was going to say is that Tua hasn't looked great. They had to go to Fitz. I think Tua's been a little bit fortunate to get a couple of wins in his first couple starts. He hasn't really been throwing for a lot of yards, making difficult throws. I really don't believe that. That's not to say that he is going to be a bad player. There is potential there. There's tons of room for him to grow. He's only played in 4 games. But Dolphins fans got to be in their fear bunker a little bit, right? About Justin Herbert. You passed on Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert, as we transition here to the Chargers, looks outstanding. The Chargers, you can't believe they're 3-7. You can't believe they're not one of those 9 teams. They change quarterbacks, and they just continue to lose hilariously. Bad things, they're cursed. Bad things just keep happening to them. They have punts blocked. Teams lead these furious comebacks, and they lose. It's almost hilarious. But Herbert is not at fault for just about any of it. He has not really struggled against anybody, except maybe Miami a couple of weeks ago, where he goes for 187 and 2 touchdowns. That's his worst game. Look at these other games: 366-3, 326-2, 278-3, 347-3, 264-4, 290-3. He's been outstanding. Loves Keenan Allen, loves Hunter Henry, big weapon in Mike Williams. Might get Austin Eckler back this week. I don't know if he would play fully, but they don't really care about running the ball anyway. They're using Kalen Ballage now, who they just poached from the Jets in place of Justin Jackson and Josh Kelly. Eckler would give them a different weapon, obviously. He's a really good player. But I don't think... Do they win more games if they have Eckler? Maybe, because they're losing so hilariously in such close games. You could make that argument, I suppose. It's just they haven't really struggled offensively, and I don't see why running the football would necessarily make them a better team. Somebody will say, well, they could run the clock out. Well, of course they could. But, they're really good. They're really good at throwing. They could run the clock out. They could be better at it, I suppose. Eckler's still second on the team in rushing yards. He hasn't played since week 4. I still will give the Bills a bit of an advantage because they're at home, LA coming all the way east. Granted, they did that a couple weeks ago in Miami, and they didn't really have that great of a game. But I do think the Bills are the best team that the Chargers have played in over a month. Since October 12th against the Saints. They played the Jets, they beat the Jets, they played the Dolphins. I do think that the Bills are better, at least definitely offensively, than the Dolphins. I think they're a little bit better than the Raiders. And the Raiders look like a nice team in their own right. Denver, Jacksonville, and then they had their bye, and then New Orleans. That's going backwards there. I think the Bills are the best team. And the Chargers gave New Orleans a game, too. And it just, here they come, here the Saints come, and the Chargers are helpless against it. It's so weird. I don't understand this stigma with the Chargers. I don't get it. They might be better on defense. They could get Chris Harris back, but they also might lose Casey Hayward to a groin injury. So, I don't know what to make of the Chargers. I think they're better. I think they're more like a 5-5 team than a 3-7 team. I think fans will look at that disparity in records, 7-3 for the Bills, 3-7 for the Chargers, and maybe think the game's a layup. I don't think so, but I'm going to pick the Bills to win. I'm going to say 34-27 Bills. Hit me up on Twitter, guys. My Twitter handle and YouTube username are the same. Enjoy your weekend. As always, above all else, go Bills.